Hello, BookTube. This is Alan. This is the nonfiction book tag, which was originally done, by Lukash at Totally Pretentious. He did not tag me, and that's okay because probably doesn't know me, and that's good because the least people that know you are, you're better off. So someone probably did tag me, and I apologize in advance that I didn't see that video which you tagged me. So he goes to the top 10 nonfiction books, and I don't go for a list about top 10, top 5, or something like that. I just pick nonfiction books, and I read nonfiction books a lot, and so this is the and Lukács also said that there was two restrictions. One, no poetry. Number two, no religious texts, which includes the Bible, the Quran, the Talmud, the Kojidai, the Sutras, the Book of Shadows, the Book of Mormon, and other religious texts. If I have not mentioned your sacred religious texts, forgive me for that. So let's go. Let's start this nonfiction book tag. Had to reach back here to get the books. The first one is The Boy King, Edward VI and the Protestant Reformation by Doray McCallum. This came out in St. Martin's Press. Came out in 2001, first published. And this is a Palgrave edition. Yeah, this is a start of the Protestant Reformation period in England, where you have the new form. It says a new form of Christianity, the Church of England, and the Book of Common Prayer. And lavishly illustrated book, Doray McCallum illuminates the significance of Edward's turbulent and neglected reign. Takes a fresh look at the life and beliefs of the young king and the ruthless politicians who jostled for power around him. He analyzes the single-minded strategy of the Protestant Revolution and assesses support it enjoyed among the people of England. McCallum describes the crisis of 1549, when nationwide unrest divided the government and the people brought about the overthrow of the king's charismatic uncle and Lord Protector, the Duke of Somerset. And the Boy King, Edward VI, Protestant Reformation by Doray McCallum. I have another book by Doray McCallum. It's about the Reformation itself. It's a very good writer. And I want to make a note, following this pastor on YouTube, some pastors at church up in Cleveland, and he's from Scotland. And he said that during this time when the Scottish Puritans took over, and you had the Reformation period, the church there in England, the Protestants, they banned Christmas. They banned Christmas, and this is what the pastor said. From 1649 all the way till 1956, Christmas was banned. There was no Christmas trees, there was no carol singing, there was no lights, there was no commercials, there's no Santa Claus, nothing. So, and he also mentioned the fact that in one headmaster of a school got suspended because he put a Christmas tree in the lobby of the school. So that's Boy King, Edward VI and the Protestant Reformation. The next one is the work of John Owen. This is volume 6. And this, he has written 16 volumes. And this one came out as a reprint, of course, and it first published in 1850. And this is on other mortifications in believers. And this goes on for about 700 pages. I read all of this. And John Owen was the chaplain to Oliver Cromwell. He's very good writer. The next one has a little story behind it. I was writing a story about a boy who, in the first of the story, he loses his parents. And so he decides to go to a monastery there in Germany. And in Germany, the monastery just happens to be where the Protestant reformer Martin Luther ended up. So you have, I was looking up this book about who was the Pope at that time of during Martin Luther. And so I got this book out of the library, checked it out, and then I liked it so much I bought it. And this is The Lives of the Popes by Richard P. McBrien. He recently passed away like 2-3 years ago. And this is very good. I really enjoyed it. It's and some of the parts of it are hilarious. I read it, this entire thing, in about several days. He talks about from Peter to the beginnings of the universal papacy, and he lists all the popes with a very short, sometimes a very short biographical sketch. Other times there's more. You have about 3 or 4 sketches of the popes, like Clement I from 91 to 101. And he lists the bad popes, the good ones. And yeah, he lists all of them. And there's a one which I remember. There was a pope, and I forgot who it was, who died, and his successor put that pope on trial. So you have this cadaver of this pope there on trial, and he asked the body that this pope, is that, "Do you have anything to say?" And of course, couldn't say a word. So they excommunicated him. They tossed him into a river. He was later, body was later recovered and buried in a grave. And there's some of the pictures of the different popes. You have St. Leo the Great, St. Gregory the Great, St. Leo the Third, who crowned Charlemagne as emperor in 800. You have St. Gregory the Sixth, Urban the Second, Innocent the Third, who was one of the most powerful popes in history. And it goes on. Leo the Tenth, who excommunicated Martin Luther, St. Pius V, Julius II. So yeah, and it goes on, and I believe it ends with John Paul II. And it tells you how the popes are removed from office. It tells you about the ratings of the pope. It tells you about chronicle list of the popes. And you get the longest and shortest pontificates, key papal encyclicals, and a glossary. So Richard McBrien was the professor of theology, University of Notre Dame, and leading authority of Catholicism. So it's Those Lives of the Popes. The next one is one I got at a thrift store. This is a nonfiction work. This is Graham Greene that I've showed on this channel before, Man of Paradox. This is a collection of interviews and impressions by friends and contemporaries. And on the back, it says that reveals the private side of Greene, an opinionated, charming, articulate, controversial, complex person who's always at odds with conventional wisdom. Excuse me. Excuse me. 57 excerpts, including this book, contain interviews with Greene, as well as personal impressions, diary entries, articles, essays, literary pieces, recollections by friends and contemporaries that span 50 years. So this is, it's Graham Greene's Loyola University Press. The next one is an Oxford World Classic, the very short piece. This is David Hume, Dialogues Concerning Natural Religion and the Natural History of Religion. So this is a very good, and Hume was a philosopher in the English language. He's skeptical accounts of the causes and consequences of religious beliefs. On Dialogues Concerning Natural Religion and the Natural History of Religion, or the formidable attack upon the rationale of religious faith ever mounted by a philosopher. So this is a very short one, and it says it contains section 12 of the 11 of the inquiry concerning human understanding, and a letter concerning the dialogues. So this came out from Oxford University Press. The next one is an autobiography of G.K. Chesterton. This is very well done. I really enjoyed this. And it has some things like how to be a dunce, the case against corruption, crimes of orthodoxy, the man with the golden key. This is very good, very, very humorous. Next is Empire of the Tsar, Journey Through Internal Russia, by the Marquis de Cousson. And insights, travels in Russia through horse-drawn carriage in 1839. So it's just a memoir of his travels, who spanned he's a French aristocrat, and it was a century and a half ago. Reports vivid episodes and paints unforgettable portraits of Russians, from the Tsar and his flaunting courtiers down to the drunken Cossacks and the sullen peasants. They were the Russians that had been there for centuries. And so this is a very good, vivid history of Russia during that time period. The next one is a signed copy of one of the books written by former President Richard M. Nixon. This is 1999. This is the last book that he wrote. I read several of his books. This is called Victory Without War. 1999, Victory Without War. This is the seventh book in a lifetime of experience in international affairs to examine the crucial challenge facing the United States and the West. What must we do in the closing years of the 20th century to ensure that the 21st century be a century of peace, prosperity, and expanding freedom, and the very survival of the United States? Former President Nixon would be appalled at what the current occupant of the White House is doing in regards to foreign policy. Foreign policy in the Trump administration is non-existent. In fact, when Nixon opened the door to China and also went to the Soviet Union, they had a period of containment, or in other words, relations between the countries. And now Russia and China are back together, and Trump isn't doing anything except putting missiles in Poland and sanctioned Russia because Russia went to Ukraine, but otherwise he's not doing a thing in foreign policy. And Nixon was the only one, former President Nixon was the only one to have an opera named after him. So there. The next one is the Journals of Thomas Merton, Volume 1, 1939 to 1941, Run to the Mountain. This is very good. It talks about his different travels to Cuba, to Washington, D.C., New York City. And each time he meets, he has his little diary, little journals, what he, his observances of not only the city, but of life that goes around in the city. It's a very good book. The journals, and I only have volume 1. Not sure how many volumes were written. This is a first edition. And I need to get the other volumes. Haven't been able to find them. This last one is, well, I've read over 30 Stephen King novels, and I haven't been scared like a lot of people have, by his novels. And I really haven't been too much, scared of anything, horror, either movies or reading the book, like so many people have. It's like leave the lights on, scared of St. Bernard's named Cujo, or scared of Pet Cemetery, but I haven't. Never been scared of anything horror. I slept right through. And it reminds me of a book I read by Niccolo Ammanati called I'm Not Scared. And the uncle tells the, the uncle tells the main character in the story, I'm Not Scared, says, there's no such thing as monsters. You shouldn't be scared of monsters. No such thing as monsters. It's people you need to be scared of, and not monsters. And the person that you need to be scared of is this person, Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. This is by Philip Carlo, The Life and Crimes of Richard Ramirez. 2 years after the murder spree that left 13 people dead and paralyzed the city of Los Angeles with fear, his name is synonymous with Satanism, torture, and sadistic murder. Yet despite the sensationalist nature of the crimes, no one has been able to tell the complex story of the killer whose seduction, brooding look still draw women like moths to a flame, and man millions call the devil himself. So and this, of course, has photos of Richard Ramirez. There he is, his young boy. And here he is on his when he was arrested. And his LA bus terminal where he sold drugs. And Gil Carlero and Frank Salerno ran the Los Angeles Sheriff's Night Stalker Task Force. and of course, as I said, he had adorable women. Whenever he appeared in court, as him in the courtroom, when he appeared in court, he was made a celebrity. And women flocked to him. Like this one, as I read before, as moths to a flame. And one of them, the lady right here, is done supporting confidant, collected items of Ramirez. His photos, coffee mugs on photos, and he was married in prison. Oh, some people have all the luck. Well, thank you very much, Book2. That's been the nonfiction book tag. And y'all have a good weekend.